Hey everybody, Liam Douglas. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to talk about the company that's quickly becoming the preeminent third-party lens supplier for the Fujifilm X-mount. And that company is Viltrox. Viltrox has a pretty substantial collection of quality lenses for the Fujifilm X-mount cameras. They offer a 13mm 1.4, a 23mm 1.4, a 33 1.4, a 56 1.4, an 85 1.8 Mark II, and their newest one, which is their 75mm f1.2 Pro lens. And all of these lenses are really exciting. I'm going to be doing reviews on each of them over the next couple of weeks. I wanted to talk about what I have in my collection at the moment. I currently have 4 of the Viltrox lenses. I didn't go with the 13mm 1.4 because I already had a Zeiss 12mm 2.0, and I've always wanted a Zeiss lens, and I got a really good deal on this because it was used, so I had picked this one up before I knew about the Viltrox lenses. And I also didn't opt for the 23mm because I already have the 23mm f2 in the Fujifilm lens. And this one's weather sealed, so, and I use it for street photography, so 1.4 isn't really necessary for me. I generally shoot this lens at like f4, f8. Sometimes I'll shoot it at f2 if I'm doing like a street portrait, but that's the only instance. And then I also have the 16mm f2.8 RWR as well. But of the Viltrox lenses I do have, I have the 33 1.4, which is a 50mm full-frame equivalent field of view. And then I have the 56 1.4, which is an 85mm full-frame equivalent portrait lens. And then I have the 85 1.8 Mark II, which again can be used as a portrait lens. And then, as I showed you a moment ago, I have their big beast, which is the 75 1.2 Pro lens. And this lens is extremely impressive. The image quality, the build quality, everything is phenomenal about this lens, and it's unheard of to get an f1.2 lens, especially one of this good quality, for such a low price. This one's $550 brand new, and as I've talked about before, if you were to get a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony f1.2 lens, you're generally looking at $2,000 or $3,000 for one of their lenses in the f1.2 aperture. Now, as I said, Viltrox is quickly becoming the preeminent third-party lens supplier for the Fujifilm X-mount. As of right now, Sigma hasn't released any X-mount lenses. Tamron's got a couple out. They have their 18-300 and their newly introduced 11-20, but I passed on the 11-20, of course, because I already have the Fujifilm 10-24, and that suits my needs just fine. But each of these lenses have phenomenal image quality. The 33mm, which is 50mm full-frame equivalent, I had previously been shooting all of my YouTube videos with on my X-T4. Today I'm using the 18-55 on the X-T4 just so I could have the Viltrox lenses here to show you in the video. All of these lenses are extremely high build quality. They're all metal construction. A good portion of them even have metal lens hoods, which is also impressive. Now, the 85 and the 75 both have plastic lens hoods, but the 33 and the 56 have metal ones, and I believe the 23 and the 13 do as well. I'm not sure why they opted to go with plastic for the 2 larger lenses. Maybe it was more cost effective, being they're considerably larger lenses. That could make quite a bit of sense. Now, of course, none of these lenses offer weather sealing, which is a little bit of a bummer, but the majority of the time I'm not shooting with any of these focal lengths in rain or snow or anything like that. Anyways, if I know I'm going to be shooting in inclement weather, I'll use one of my weather sealed Fujinon lenses just so I have that peace of mind, because all of my bodies except for the XE4 are all weather sealed bodies as well. Now, the other exciting thing is I reached out to Viltrox on their Instagram a few days ago on one of their public posts where they were talking about lenses, and I asked them if we were going to be getting more Pro Series glass from them for the Fujifilm X-mount, and they replied and said yes, their next one is going to be a 27mm, which is very good. It's a 40 millimeter full frame equivalent field of view, and I believe from the way they responded, it's going to be another pro lens that may be an f1.2 aperture as well. So if it is, that's going to be phenomenal, and it might even be the same price or a little bit cheaper than the 75, because the 27 wouldn't be nearly as large, so it might be a little bit less expensive. And that's one of the reasons why I opted for a lot of these Viltrox lenses. Is their lenses are relatively inexpensive compared to Fujifilm and other companies' lenses. Most of my lenses that I have from Viltrox, with the exception of the 75, were all like $300 or $200, $200 and some dollars. So really inexpensive glass, especially when you compare some of the same focal lengths in the Fujinon lenses run upwards of $1,000 or more. So basically the cost of one Fujinon lens, I was able to buy 3 or 3.5 out of these 4 lenses for the same cost it would cost me for one Fujinon lens, which is extremely impressive and also helps out the wallet. Now, the other reason why I opted to go with Viltrox for many of these focal lengths is because they're not lenses that I make a living with. So these focal lengths are ones I like to have to shoot my own stuff or shoot my grandkids and family members and stuff like that, but I don't do professional portraiture work. So I didn't really need to have the super high-end Fujinon lenses. And so far, I'm not disappointed at all with these Viltrox lenses. You'll see as I do the review on each one over the next couple of weeks, especially their new 75 1.2. This lens is absolutely stellar. The image quality is phenomenal. It works great on the existing Fuji bodies as well as the newer bodies like the XH2 and the XT5 that have the new 40 megapixel sensor. This works really well on those bodies as well, so no issues there. It can easily accommodate all of Fujifilm's sensors, well, of course, with the exception of the GFX line. Now, Viltrox hasn't made any lenses yet for the GFX line. I'd be interested to see if they're going to do it at some point. I'll probably reach out to them about it and ask them just out of curiosity. I don't really have a pressing need for more GFX lenses, but if they offered some really good ones like, 110 millimeter or 200 millimeter, something like that, that I don't have for a reasonable price, then I would definitely consider picking one up. But all of these lenses are phenomenal. Most all of them have the aperture ring on them, which I love. Most everybody that shoots Fujifilm loves having the aperture ring. The only one that I have that doesn't have an aperture ring is the 85 Mark II. The 75, the 56, and the 33 all have the aperture ring, as do the 13 and the 23 millimeter. So, as I said at the beginning of this video, Viltrox is quickly becoming the preeminent third-party lens supplier for the Fujifilm X mount, which is exciting. I mean, it saves all of us money, it gives us more selection, gives us more options when it comes to lenses. Now, Fujifilm does have a really robust lens roadmap of lenses they've already put out. They have a lot of high-quality lenses. Basically, the big thing I'm looking for, I was surprised they didn't put out another lens roadmap during their X Summit last week, but I think at this point about the only thing they might do is start gradually releasing like Mark II versions of some of their other lenses. They've done it already with their 56, and I think they also released Mark II of their 85 millimeter lens. I'm not going to swear to that, though. I could be wrong. I might be thinking of something else. But either way, they did release an updated version of their 23 1.4 as well, which has much better, faster, more accurate autofocus, and it's weather sealed. So at this point, I think that's about all Fuji can really do. They've got a very well-rounded out series of lenses for the Fujifilm X bodies, and I don't really know if there's anything else they really need to add to it. They recently added the 150 to 600, so they have a long-reach telephoto lens now. And of course, they already had the 70 to 300 and the 50 to 140. So they've got all of the areas pretty well covered. Now, I was A little bit surprised that they released an 8mm 3.5 during the X Summit, but a lot of people seem to be excited about it, especially people that are vloggers and content creators, because it's a 12mm full frame equivalent field of view, so you can get more of the background when you're vlogging, you know, what's going on around you or behind you as you're vlogging. So that may end up being a really popular lens. I think it's a little bit expensive at $800. I would be interested in one if maybe down the road I find one used at KEH or something like that for like $400, then I might pull the trigger. But it's not something that I pressingly need right now. Right now, the only lens I'm looking to get, besides the new Viltrox Pro when it comes out, would be the Fujinon 16-55 f2.8, because that would give me two of the three holy trinity lenses. I already have the 50-140, which is the 70-200 full frame equivalent 2.8. The 16-55 would give me the equivalent 24-70 2.8. And Fuji does also have an 8-16 2.8, which would fill in the third lens in that trinity. But I don't have a pressing need for that one. It's a fairly heavy lens, and so I'll pass on that one. But I am interested in eventually picking up the 16-55, especially if I can find a nice used one for a really good deal. All right, that's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch it. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications, make sure you enter my current contest for my 10,000 subscriber giveaway. Make sure you check that out and get your entries in. You can find the official rules down below in the description for this video. That's going to wrap this one up. I will see you all in the next one.